Coffee, check. Brewer systems, check. Brewing, check. Coffee served. Check. Brewing Better Days is more than a podcast. It's a movement. It's for the first responders, the veterans, healthcare professionals, and all of their families. This is Brewing Better Days. And now your host, Eric Hadley.
Don't forget that's a 32.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Brewing Better Days, the coffee shop talk podcast. My name is Eric Hadley. I'm your host, and today I have a special guest, entrepreneur. She is just out there putting it on the line like any other entrepreneur, trying to make things happen. Jeni Huelscamp with Manly Cans. Jeni, how are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm good. Thanks
Awesome.
for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So, love kicking this off. First question, are you a coffee drinker?
Of course.
Awesome. How do you prefer to drink your coffee and prepare it? Are you milk and cream and sugar or?
I'm a latte girl.
Latte girl.
Latte girl. Vanilla usually or caramel, but we brew a pot.
That
Very
is awesome.
simple. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Very
I
simple.
too love the lattes. I'm actually drinking one right now, vanilla. Stoked about that. Like I was telling you earlier, I have not had my coffee yet, so I'm looking forward to enjoying that. Tell me about Manly Cans. How did you get into Manly Cans and what inspired that?
Originally, I had opened a franchise for edible arrangements in Springfield, Missouri. And during that time, so many people would come in and say, we wish there was more for guys. We wish there was more for guys. And back then, I did a lot of research, and there really was only one other company out there serving that demographic at the time. And so I just started doing a lot of dreaming and researching and came up with Manly Cans, figured out it hadn't been used, it wasn't trademarked yet, it just had lots of possibilities. And I think one of my biggest goals was I wanted it to be stuff people really wanted and could use, and even the packaging, because, you know, you're basically looking at somewhat of a gift basket item, but you get gift baskets and you have a basket, you don't know what to do with it, half the stuff in it you don't want, they're just hard. So I wanted to make sure everything was reusable. So whether we're doing the cans, we put everything in burlap bags, our greeting cards, our coasters, like we just tried to make it all very usable and very manly.
That is awesome. From my perspective, you can never go wrong when you're getting an ammo can as part of your gift. I mean, you can reuse an ammo can for all kinds of stuff in the garage, loose nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
So that has to be well received, I'm sure.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing Manly Cans now?
I started in November of 2015.
2015.
So it's been a while. A lot of learning and growing and pivoting, as we've talked about.
Tell me a little bit about your story. Like, what have been some of the trials, tribulations? Has it just been smooth sailing, or?
No, not at all. There's a lot of pivoting. I think the hardest thing is getting national exposure. That was always my focus of how on earth do you get national exposure without paying bazillions of dollars to do it.
Right.
But then I've also been kind of amazed at the inability to get it out just locally. Like, you know, when you look at all of the people that are in the hospital or having birthdays or all those things for guys, and you basically have an option here in Springfield, Missouri and areas around it to have something hand delivered instead of flowers for a guy. That's been a hard thing, is to get that out there enough that people know that's an option. They have a manly way to send an item to a guy locally that's hand delivered. So that's been hard as well. So you would think local would be easier, but it's not necessarily.
Right.
Not necessarily. I think, just over time it's been honing down on the products, trying to start with local products as much as I could, which is how I found Got Your Six Coffee, which we feature. But it's been hard because small companies can't always keep up, or they don't stay around. So that's been kind of hard as well. In fact, at one point, a buyer for Sam's Club contacted us and was interested in if they could use our products. And then we were declined for the fact that we were focusing on local businesses. And I think it's just because they knew they couldn't ramp up sales fast enough with all the local products in there. So that's been kind of a challenge as well. But my entrepreneurial heart wanted to focus on local and kind of bring them up with me. But that's been hard over time. It's just kind of been curating down better products that still a lot of local, but a little more stable companies.
Do you think you have the opportunity to be able to go back to them and redo that?
In fact, I have my brother-in-law is my partner, and he is getting ready to retire. And so one of his big goals is to see if we can do something within a Walmart system. And he's going to kind of take the time to work through that process, which will be awesome because it's hard to handle everything and take on big adventures like that.
All right, because how many people are on your team right now?
Me and my brother-in-law. And he's in Nebraska, so it's a lot of me. And then I have a volunteer husband.
Mandatory fun.
Yeah, so on holidays, it's crazy. Like, he helps a lot. And I have people I have people that used to come in and help me on holidays at edible arrangements. So when I get in a bind, I can still call some of them and they'll come help me for a day or two. So
you gotta love the individuals who will take time to come support you and help you out and volunteer. That's amazing. That anybody who volunteers to help out a small business or a nonprofit, it just speaks volumes of
a big deal.
Their character and who they are. And I didn't realize, I know we've known each other for, 5-6 years now, something like that. I've never had the opportunity to really dive into your story, and I'm starting to see a lot of similarities with like small team working through the obstacles that you have to be able to get that next step going forward. It's hard. And sometimes partnering with things that don't work out or people and working through those challenges hard as well. Right. I don't feel like the average public really understands what entrepreneurs go through every day, right? To me, it seems like they just see the outward expression of what's on social media. And of course, there's that tendency on social media. You're trying to promote positive, happy. You don't want to be the doom and gloom, but there's always another side to the coin that people don't understand. In your years of experience with business, what has been some of the best advice that's been given to you as far as business?
I think the biggest thing I've just learned to do is pivot, and that things that don't go well are okay. Like, that's just part of it. You have to try things and keep plugging along and working towards different goals, and eventually they'll, if they're going to work or not. Something I remember, and it was a long time ago, but listening to a message that Joyce Myers was giving, and they kept pressing her for, what do you do if you don't know what God's will is? Like, you're not sure what the answer is. You're not sure what he's telling you to do. And she finally said, if everything you're choosing from is biblical and in line with something God would want, I do think he gives you some choices. And if you're not sure what he's telling you, make your best choice. And if he doesn't want that, he'll still shut the door. And I remember that a lot too. Like, just make the best decisions you can and, give it a try. Yeah.
I'm trying to teach my kids several things. One of which, the answer is always going to be no if you don't ask, right? And it can kind of apply to this in the same context that you're never going to have success unless you try. And through one of the things for me, I've learned a lot of stuff from start to where I'm at now. That journey of growing and learning about, accounting and learning about social media and learning how to deal with equipment and all that kind of stuff. All the things that the average person doesn't understand, hey, I get up and fight every day. It's a constant struggle of pushing forward, fighting, trying to solve the problems. And then on occasion, we get those successes that make it worth it. That's hard. I don't think a lot of people understand that. Yeah. Who has made the most influence in your life?
There's so many different, just as a person and as a human, my parents are the biggest. The faith they grew me up with, and the confidence and the encouragement and all that. When I have business questions and things I want to brainstorm, I always go to my brother-in-law. He's the business mind, and I love that part. I'm excited he's retiring. And then I just listen to tons of podcasts and books and things, just anything I can to suck up.
Right.
Whatever I need at the time. So
that's so cool that your parents, by the sounds of it, growing up. They exposed you to faith and God and the Word, and then it sounds like they spoke life into you and just encouraged. That's huge.
Yeah. In fact, they moved down here with us in 2004 and lived with us and for 13 years, so it was very fun.
That's cool.
They were awesome, and they're a great story in that they both grew up with crappy lives and not great parents, and they broke the cycle, so that was a cool thing to watch too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Who is one person you admire most, dead or alive, and why?
I'll just stick with Jesus on that one.
Nice.
Yeah. If it wasn't for that, the faith and the confidence that you get, just knowing you're walking in that right path and knowing that you're going to be okay, because it's everything you do is risky, everything's hard, and just knowing that no matter what, He's got my back, and good, bad, success, failure.
That is so true.
Nothing changes there.
Right. I love getting the opportunity to talk about God in the Bible. One of my favorite things is the realization that in the Bible it said 365 times, don't fear. To me, just the engineer and the way I think, I find that's kind of ironic that there's 365 days and 365 times you're told, don't fear.
Yeah.
Right? To have the faith and trust that something positive is going to come from it. You're either going to learn a lesson to which you can grow and be better, or you're going to have success to which you can grow and be better.
Right.
Those are amazing things for me.
Right.
You had mentioned that you listen to a lot of podcasts, and do you read books or do audiobooks?
I don't do a ton of books, no. I've done some. There's been a few along the ways, but I'm more of one to listen.
Gotcha.
I don't have time to sit and, if people refer a book to me that I know is good, I will listen to that, but I don't just out search them because I don't know what they're going to tell me, and sometimes that makes me nervous.
Right. A book that I just listened to, I'm like you, I don't have necessarily the time to sit down and scroll through pages after pages. But what I do have is when I'm driving around, running errands, doing that kind of stuff. I recently listened to, and it's a quick listen. It's like 3.5 hours. Had to make a trip to Joplin and then down to Nixa and back. But it was Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis. It's a story, it's a read of essentially letters from the devil to one of his nephews who is out there being a young troublemaker, devil, trying to influence in a negative way. And it's these letters on, basically it talks about spiritual warfare and how evil tries to disrupt us and shift our attention and move everything. It was an eye-opener for me. I know we were talking about this earlier. I'm a firm believer that something good is about to happen when the devil's throwing everything at you. That's a lot of those highs and lows, a lot of my journey, which I've seen. So just to be cognizant of that, it really opened my eyes on other ways how the devil tries to distract you and persuade.
Yeah.
So I would recommend that one, but that's just me.
Yeah.
What goals are you pursuing right now?
Something I've really been working on is just the advertising side of things. In the beginning of my business, you had to have a photographer and a website designer and all of these things. And technology just keeps getting better and better to where, there was a time I lost my website, I lost my photography, I lost everything, and I had to start over, and you're just paying for that stuff over and over. And so I've been really excited to find things like Photo Room and this creative DI software program that designs ads for you. You just plug in what you want. And that's been a big learning curve for me right now, and a big thing I've been trying to figure out, because the more I can do myself, the better. Learning to do my own website, trying to handle it all myself, which keeps your costs down.
It's an undertaking.
Takes a lot of time, but
yes.
So much easier nowadays. I don't have to have the fancy equipment and cameras, which I have. I can take photos and put them into software programs that make them wonderful.
There you go.
So learning a lot about that, but that's been a big challenge.
Your website, what platform are you running on? Are you doing like WooCommerce or?
Everything's running through Shopify. So it all syncs together. It's very easy for me to do without knowing coding.
Right.
Which is not something where I didn't want my time to go to that.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. I'm not a fan of the coding, but like you said, oftentimes we've got to adopt and figure it out on our own just to keep the cost down and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, and the technology has changed so much. And, in our software or on our website, if you pick a can, you are then given a bunch of options to add more things to your can so you can kind of customize them in a way. Mm-hmm. Well, when I first started, nobody was doing anything like that. Like, that was specially written code, and it still didn't look very nice. And now it's all seamless. Like, it just, all the software's there, all the apps are there, everything's there to make your website do exactly what you need for that, and it's been awesome.
Well, speaking of the cans, I see you brought one with you today. And
I did. It's my coffee can.
Awesome tumbler. I don't think I've seen the tumblers before. Why don't you talk about that and some of the other options that you have for all the guys out there?
We have, we'll talk about some of the different cans, but basically our greeting cards are coasters. They're the man cards.
Nice.
And we put our greeting on the back. Whatever they provide, we'll put on the back for them.
Cool.
Everything comes in a burlap bag, which you can also use for storing and stuff.
Yep.
And of course, this is one of our coffee cans, so first thing out, of course, will be got your six. Woo-woo. We include some chocolate-covered coffee beans. Everything in this can is going to be chocolate-oriented. So we've got mocha almonds.
Oh, wow.
From Pocket Latte. And we've got 3 different chocolate bars that are also coffee-infused.
Ooh.
And there's a cream, there's a hazelnut and a dark chocolate, and they're all coffee infused chocolates. And then if you get the bigger 50 cal can, you'll get the coffee mug in there as well.
Gotta have the 50 cal can.
Yeah, gotta have that. And then we've got meat cans. We call them carnivores instead of carnivores.
Nice.
We even have a bucket of meat, which comes in a 4-gallon bucket, but it has a seat that sits on top that you can use if you're gardening or washing the car or pitching softballs, and you can reach in the bucket while you're sitting in it and grab things out. So that's kind of fun.
The meat can, is that like a variety of jerkies? And
it's got meat sticks and a big sausage chubs and beef jerky, and all of those are local. Like, our meat sticks and chubs come from Missouri. They are with Burger's Smokehouse. We have Banjo Boyd beef jerky, which is Timothy Haygood with the Haygoods came up with that.
Nice.
So we've got his jerky. I meet him in Saddlebrook every now and then and get a load
there you
of
go.
jerky. So that's been kind of fun. We've got nut cans, snack cans. We've got, we call them weekend warriors. Of course, the weekend warriors.
Yeah.
And they've got more things like koozies and flasks and jerkies and coffee and snacks for the weekend.
Do you do any like prepper cans or tool cans?
Haven't got into that. I did try a techie can and a tool type can. It was an emergency type can, and just over time those got phased out. People weren't as into those.
Well, the tumbler, am I seeing correctly, is a tumbler wrapped in like a leather?
It's got a leather wrap on it.
That's cool.
And then our logo on there. We've done a temporary. I need to get my vendor to get me more product. He's local, but we've done a patriotic can before that had the Constitution in it, and We the People, little flags on the hats, and actually engraved the ammo cans with the logo as well, the We the People.
Oh, wow. So like the tumbler had the Constitution on it?
No, we had an actual Constitution little booklet that just so you can look in it and read it and see what's really in there.
Right.
And it had a bookmark in it that had the Bill of Rights and all that stuff. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so it was fun. I need to get back with it had a koozie with the logo on it, the We the People logo.
With all the podcasts and everything, do you have a favorite quote or something that somebody said to you in the past? One of my favorite quotes is from Chief Tecumseh, who said, "A single twig will break, but a bundle of twigs is strong." And the whole idea is that you can accomplish anything when you're working together as a team.
The 2 things I speak the most, which are just kind of quirky, is constantly putting on my big girl panties. and also learning not to have knee-jerk reactions. Don't have a knee-jerk reaction. Keep it cool and give it some time before you react.
Control the emotion, for sure. Yeah. That has been a lesson that I've had to learn throughout my journey, was don't let other people control your emotions and just walk away from it. You know, if you have to give yourself 2 days to get it to where when you think of that instance you're not emotional, or 2 weeks, whatever it is, it's going to be a lot better when you're outside the emotion and thinking logically in your response.
Exactly.
If you could go back 10 or 20 years and give yourself some advice on starting a business with everything that you've learned throughout your entrepreneurial journey, what would you tell your younger self?
I've thought of that before. And there's definitely days I would tell myself, don't do it. That's just the way it is. No, don't do it. No. And that's probably been my harder part is I have a very entrepreneurial spirit. I love other entrepreneurs. Everything I look at it and go, could I do that? And then I see something else. I'm like, could I do that? And that's just a horrible trait sometimes because there's just so much I could do and want to do and wish I could do. And so if I went back, it would just be choose wisely.
Yeah. For me, I've noticed throughout my entrepreneurial journey prior to that, I was the kind of person, I'd be like, I'd have this idea or be like, oh, I could do that. I would never act on it. And time after time after time after time, I had these ideas and I would never act on it. And then 3, 4, 5 years later, you see some company out there just killing it with what they're doing. And it's just like, oh, kidding me. Like,
yeah,
I was big into the outdoors, off-roading and all that kind of stuff, right? So I had a Jeep and would constantly go off-road, camping, hiking, any chance I got. I had this idea, how cool would it be to have an RC truck or remote control that looks like my Jeep, that is actual, not like the old school RC trucks you would get from like Walmart where it was just a solid piece of plastic with wheels out the side of it that turned. I'm talking like an articulating suspension, and for years I thought this would be so cool, and I even like played around with it on the ship. In my spare time, you'd get like scrap material of pipes or whatnot. Never acted on it, and then a couple years later, you're seeing like Traxxas, and now it's like this multi-million-dollar industry, probably $1 billion industry with all the RC stuff that's going on.
Right.
Just time and time again, all these ideas.
Yeah.
Got Your Six was one of those ones where put your money where your mouth is, right? I've had all these issues, things that frustrated me. It bothered me that at the time, in the beginning, I could point to 13 different people that had committed suicide. That's, to me, wrong. Like, something needs to change, and I didn't see anything out there. On top of that, my uncle was a Navy veteran. When he got out of the service, he went to work at Electric Boat up in Groton, Connecticut, building nuclear submarines. When he retired from there as a pipe fitter, he ended up getting cancer, intestinal cancer, and I saw how the VA system treated him, right? They just killed him on the operating table, brought him back to life, and then throughout the next 4 years, it was just a series of all these different things. They over-radiated him, gave him too much chemo, just caused all these extra problems. And I was like, I got to do something. In my mind, there's 2 ways you can fix it. One, you either give up everything you're doing and join the political arena and try and fight that fight, which I have zero desire to go into politics, or you just start giving money to organizations that are actually out there doing it. And that's what I'm trying to do. So
Yeah.
you got to take that risk. Another quote that I've heard was 95% of great ideas end up in the grave because people don't act on them for whatever it is, if they're afraid or they just don't know, or it's crazy. I think that, like I said, the entrepreneurial life is a little bit different.
Yeah, it's not for the weak-hearted.
It'll definitely give you thick skin if you're out there in the world of business. You've got the highs and lows. One of the things that I like to help people do is to educate them, give them tools and resources with the trials and tribulations. How do you process stress, the burdens of owning your own business? What do you do to manage those feelings and the emotions and process all that?
I sit in a hot tub every night. That's one way I unwind. I love listening to podcasts. A lot of them are, I don't know, I love current events, so I'll just tune into stuff a little bit. But my hot tub time is very valuable to me, and I tell my husband that a lot. It's like that's kind of where I lower my blood pressure.
Yeah.
I love to talk to people. I don't have a lot of people around me that are business-minded, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I don't have that like I would like.
Definitely have to surround yourself with like-minded people. That saying, show me your top friends, top 5 friends, and I'll show you who you are. There's some people who don't want to run a business and they just want to go to work, do their 9 to 5, come home.
Yeah.
As my wife said last night, do Netflix and chill and just kind of relax and not do anything. So
And I just don't have a lot of business people around me that I can brainstorm with. So when I can find one here and there, it's awesome. I love that. I love to sit and brainstorm. So finding people that I have enough in common with our businesses to do that is awesome.
Yeah.
I always laugh because I tell my husband he needs a hobby. He needs some hobbies. And he always just says, you're my hobby. And he is. Like anything I'm doing, he's right there helping me and plugging along. And he's not really the business-minded person. He's just the servant-minded person of I'll help.
How long have you guys been married?
34 years.
Wow. That is so cool.
Yeah, a long time.
I am striving for those numbers myself. What would be some advice you'd give to younger couples that are out there that don't necessarily have the wisdom of 34 years yet?
A lot of it's just keep your mouth shut.
See, I'm always arguing it
needs to be said.
communicate better.
Communicate. Well,
choose your
different.
word.
Be careful with your words. Be very careful with your words. Yeah, and find your things. Like he's a diving coach. He's a handyman. We just don't have a lot in common. And so finding those things over the years to do in common, like we ended up camping for many years because that's something we could do in common. When we have house projects to work on, those are great times for us because he knows what he's doing and I get to do the things I want and we work together on them. So for him and I, that's been a big thing is finding things to do that we can have in common since we don't have a lot of things in common normally.
That's awesome. I know Jamie and I this year are trying to be more intentional with carving out quality time. Every 2 weeks going on a date, every other date, trying to make it to where it's like a double date with another couple or something. Do you have that kind of structure or something in place within your marriage, or is that?
It's just him and I now. Our kids are gone, so last night we went to Arby's for dinner. Like it's just a lot of just doing stuff. Like we're just doing life.
How long have you been empty nesters now?
We had 3 kids get married within a year. And that's been 2 years now.
It was
a rough year. It was fun, but financially, it's like, oh my gosh, people, spread it out.
3 marriages in 1 year? Wow.
Yeah, and my daughter just had a baby in January, so got our first grandkid now.
Sweet.
So she's coming tomorrow for 10 days, so that's exciting. And our big thing, like with Christmas this year, I just said, I'm tired of buying stuff. I'm buying memories. And so...
Yes.
Yeah, last year, no gifts, but we all went to Gulf Shores last summer, and we just got the Airbnb. So this year we didn't do that, but we went to Minnesota for Christmas to be with my daughter since she was so pregnant, and so that was that memory. This last weekend, we were on a float trip with one of the other kids because they didn't get to go for Christmas, so it's like we're just doing memories.
Looking back through my youth, I can't recall, but like a handful of things that were gifts, and a lot of it was like the PlayStation back in the day, but that was like the big popular thing, or the Nintendo, I should say. Beyond that, I can't remember the material things.
Yeah.
What's the importance?
But you remember your vacation.
Yes, it's the memories, and I wish more people would understand that. I would love to do that. I'm all for the idea. Forget buying all the plastic pieces of junk. Let's go make memories and go do something.
Yeah. We still do stocking stuffers. Everybody has to buy them for everybody, and that's where the fun is because everybody puts such silly random things in there, or things that have a joke to them, or things that have a story. And that's probably the most fun thing to open on Christmas anyway. So we still do that.
You are... So this week is my son's 11th birthday. Where did 11 years go?
Yeah. Blink.
I'm going to get emotional thinking about this. Next thing you know, it's going to be another blink and he's gone.
Yeah.
Right? He's 11 going into 6th grade. He's got 6 more years and he's out of the house.
Yeah.
And
goes so fast.
How do I hit the brakes?
Yeah.
Give me some advice on how to hit the brakes and slow the time down, because I
obviously didn't do a good job. I'm here.
I cherish my time with the kids. I want as much time as I can, and I wish I could figure out ways to hit the slow motion button during those moments of quality time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Was it a big adjustment for you guys being empty nesters?
You know, they all went to college and did their things, so they were gone at different times.
Gotcha.
That didn't bother me as much because someone was always around. It wasn't until the last one got married and that's when I started to have my sad times because you knew that season was done. They now need to cleave to those people and you have to let them go.
Mm-hmm.
And that was harder, much harder.
I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah, and it's hard. Like looking at my daughter, it's like you have a new life. Like that's what I need to encourage because I won't be here forever. She needs to be ready.
Mm-hmm. We
It's
are
hard.
somewhat of empty nesters. When Britton went off to college, she's gone. So it's like 1 week we're empty nesters, 1 week we're not. It's interesting. I wish it wasn't that way, but with Manly Cans, how does everybody find you? Do you have social media? What's your website? All that kind of stuff.
Yep, on Facebook and Instagram, Manly Cans. Website, manlycans.com. We've started doing some affiliate advertising. That's been cool. It's hard to find them. Still looking for more. But last year we tried affiliate for the first time and we grew 94% just doing some affiliates. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So I'd like to figure out how to get more into that.
That's super cool. Everybody, you can go to manlycans.com on social media. If you are looking for that special gift for the man in your life, being a guy myself, I can tell you if somebody's handing me an ammo can that's full of like beef jerky or coffee or chocolates or mixed nuts, like Jen said, it's repurposed, right?
Yeah.
You can use it for a variety of different things and you can't go wrong with that kind of stuff. So, well, Jen, I greatly appreciate you coming out today, taking the
It's
time
been fun.
to kind of share your story. I've learned so much on like how similar our stories are. I mean, we're each fight our own fight, but in many ways it's a lot of the same struggles. So greatly appreciate you coming out. Thank you so much for
thanks for
taking the
having
time, and we'll wrap it up here, folks. My name's Eric Hadley. Thank you again for joining us on Brewing Better Days, the Coffee Shop Talk podcast. I'm your host. I hope you have a great week. Until next time, stay procaffeinated.
You've been listening to Brewing Better Days. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit us up on Instagram at Brewing Better Days and check the website at www.brewingbetterdays.com. Hey, life's hard, but it sure is easier with a nice cup of coffee. See you next time on Brewing Better Days.